Oh, so nice to have somebody come and have a cup of tea and escape what's going on in the house. Anyway, hello everybody, welcome back. Thanks for joining us. Hope you've had a fabulous Christmas and looking forward to 2020. As I said, it's raining a bit, so apologies if the sound's a bit odd today. I thought I should do an introduction to today's video because actually all the footage was shot way back at the end of October. So I wanted to apologise for not getting it out on time. So what I should have realised at the time was I was coming down with a rather nasty bit of flu. Yeah, okay, perhaps it was man flu then. As after all, us women are supposed to power through it, aren't we? Anyway, it hit me much worse than usual. So by the time I'd caught up with paid work and so on, unfortunately editing was out of the window for a while. So this is, I guess, 10, 11 weeks older me saying, I'm really sorry it's delayed. Here's the video of picking up the new tow car, and I'll come back to you at the end and give you an update of where we are now. If I'm looking exhausted or a bit downtrodden by the dreary weather out here today, that's because it's been a bit of a hassle to get to this point, but still, it's new tow car day, so let's let the excitement kick in and let's get there. Also, it's time for the last drive in this thing. This is my 180 brake hot hatch. I rather like it. It's got plenty of space in the back. Goes around corners okay, so it's going to be a bit of a different vehicle I'm coming home in. But 12 years with this one, it's served us well, so onwards and upwards to the next. I'll see you when we get there. So hopefully the sound is working okay. Apologies if it's not up to proper pro standards. I haven't done one of these drive and talk things before, so I have no idea. Hopefully it turns out okay. If not, I guess you wouldn't be watching it. Anyway, so whilst we're driving, let me tell you a little bit about the saga of the past couple of days to explain why maybe I'm not quite as jolly as I should be right now, considering this is the fulfilment of a dream I guess I've had since I learned to drive on Somerset beaches as a teenager. Oh, look, before I do that though, here on the right, that's the southern base for auto campers. We test drove one of their 170 bhp MRV camper vans. I was really impressed with it actually. It was a hugely flexible space, you know, you could take chairs in and out and they were all individual and all clamped into whatever position you wanted on the floor, and it was all crash tested and so on. But anyway, in the end we wanted all-wheel drive, and I especially wanted airbags in the rear for the passengers in the back. As the once we've been crashed into, it was we got T-boned at a junction when I was trying to come off of a main road, and some lovely chap in his new very fast Mercedes decided he had right of way coming out of the minor road. Needless to say, his insurance paid up. But anyway, that means I definitely want rear airbags, and we've had them in the Volvo for a while, so I'm certainly not wanting to go backwards with this new car. But anyway, sorry, back to Southern Campers. So they've got some fabulous designs. So there's this MRV, the multi-recreation vehicle, as well as conventional campers with fixed rock and roll beds and so on. So if you are in the market for something that's much more camper van than everyday luxury family car, do go and check them out. So as I said, I've got mixed feelings a bit at the moment. On one hand, this is the fulfilment of a dream I've had since I was a teenager. But then on the other hand, it's been a really up and down process of you can't have this and you can't have the other, and constantly compromising. And I had a really clear vision for what we were trying to achieve with this vehicle. So not only that, but the final paperwork only turned up on Tuesday evening. It's Thursday morning now, first thing on Thursday morning. And I've been asking for the paperwork on and off since, I guess, August time. And it had 635 quid of extra costs on it, which were not on the quote supplied in June, and against which I originally placed the order. So I'm mightily peeved at this point. So going through the figures, which I thought was just going to be a quick once over, I put 30 quid of that is relating to a charge which was related to this Part X, which I wasn't told about when I was given the numbers for the Part X. So okay, it's not very much, but I do think it is rather naughty not to tell me. Sorry, excuse me. And then £100 relates to an option which I said I didn't want, but for some reason it stayed on the order. But then there's 500 quid for side impact blind spot monitors, so those annoying orange LED things that warn you there's something coming up alongside you if you hadn't spotted it already. And this is the thing that I've never used and was really the most annoying option on our Volvo. Anyway, I didn't want this option, but as it was actually showing as free when I placed the original order, so the salesman and I decided just to tick the box anyway, because it was free and I could always turn it off. and in case we ever decide to sell in the next few years, although I don't have a very long-term plan for this vehicle, and the next owner wants it. And then there was a smattering of other random price increases. Anyway, there's been a lot of toing and froing in this whole process since the original order was placed, mainly because the thing I originally wanted to pay for turned out not to actually be available, even though it's still being publicly advertised. And then a whole load of questions, some of which still remain unanswered actually, about towing electrics and EU6 engines and smart alternators and so on. So, the order was officially ours, and then it wasn't ours, and then it was ours again. So I could probably make an hour-long episode about all those shenanigans. Suffice to say that finding out less than 24 hours before collection that the bill's 635 quid more than you'd previously been told, and the salesman not being able to do anything about it, and the dealership being strangely silent when they've been very keen to engage in conversation when you publicly praised them a few weeks ago, feels like a real kick in the teeth. After what now, despite the frustrations, had seemed like a really honest and grown-up deal-making process until this point, so it's just really disappointing, really. So anyway, trying to be positive about it, we have opted for a VW T6. We've gone for the most luxurious Caravelle version, with the biggest engine and 4-motion all-wheel drive. So that's the person carrier version with 7 seats. I figured if we were going to have something that large, we might as well have all the seats. And they can always come out anyway because they're removable. But I've got one son that plays tuba and another one that plays drums and guitars, so we definitely need doors on each side, and we definitely need the space in the middle. And for the first time ever, we are buying brand new. We usually buy ex-demo because they're typically as near enough new condition and have already done all that driving off the forecourt depreciation. But this time, because of the frankly crazy, in my opinion, way that VW Commercial makes nearly everything optional, despite looking for a good year or so, we haven't actually found the exact configuration we're after. So it seems that very few people think to specify rear airbags, and if they do, they don't specify opening windows in the back, or they don't specify the locking rear differential, which I've put on it. Plus there's a finance offer on at the moment. Well, there was when we signed up, no idea if it's still available, which gave us £5,500 deposit allowance. It looks like we can get almost all of that £5,500 as an actual discount. So it's still a crazily priced car, but at least just fractionally less crazily priced. Oh, and on top of all that was the insurance process. So this vehicle comes with 5-day drive-away insurance, not 7 as we previously got with the Volvo, but 5. But anyway, so you have to call VW Insurance and get a quote, and you get the 5 days cover free, regardless of what you decide to do with the rest of the quote. So I called up yesterday to set it all up, as then it would be one less thing to be doing today. And after about 20 minutes, they couldn't find a vehicle. Turns out that VW Insurance hasn't really got anything to do with VW, and so the call handlers haven't got a clue what the difference is between a Polo or a Crafter tipper. And because this vehicle won't be registered until I actually turn up and sign the paperwork in a couple of hours, it isn't in any of the databases. So because it isn't in their system, and I should say the lady I spoke to, who otherwise seemed perfectly competent and switched on and so on, anyway, she couldn't find it from the specifications I read out from the order form. So bless her, she had to go off and talk to the underwriters to figure out what on earth to insure it as. In the end, it turns out that in all insurance databases, this model is still listed as 204 bhp rather than the 199, which it actually is and which it says on the order form. And it's been that since the engines were retuned after the emissions scandal. But as I said, it's listed in the insurance databases as 204, which is why she couldn't find it as she was typing in 199 to her search box. Which of course she was, and of course I was saying the same as what it says on the order form. Anyway, the quote was 150 quid more than I had from my existing insurer, which of course I was happy to pay if the cover was much better. But apparently they don't have policy documentation that they can email. Apparently they don't email things other than the 5-day cover note, and they couldn't even send it in the post, so that I could compare what they were offering for their 150 quid more compared to what other people were offering. So despite her keenness for me to sign up there and then on the dotted line, of course, after taking 90 minutes to get to that point trying to sort this out, I refused because they couldn't send me the documentation. So insurers, feel free to ask for higher premiums, but only if you can provide evidence of why it's better cover. Anyway, I'm going to stop waffling. I won't film arriving at the dealership or anything else at that point, just in case my frustration gets the better of me and this actually turns into a postponed dream. Although I suppose, again, if you're watching this, the dream got followed through, and I gave in and stumped up the 635 extra quid, and am now the proud owner of a new T6 4Motion Caravelle. Okay, so here's the van. The deal was done. I got an apology, a cup of coffee, and hopefully there's 2 spare rear plates in the back here somewhere. One for the caravan and one for the bike rack. Probably the most expensive coffee and number plates I've ever had after stomping up that extra 635 quid. But what choice did I have? T6 is no longer available for order. There aren't any ex-demo ones out there, as I think we've demonstrated over the last 12 months with exactly the spec we're looking for. And if we wait for the 6.1, it looks like some of the things that we want, like the opening rear windows, and maybe not even the rear airbags, are available. So who knows what's going to happen. Anyway, not to forget, of course, or not to mention the unmentionable B word, which if we did order a 6.1 now and we end up doing some crazy dropping out of the EU in no deal, then that's going to put an extra 10% onto the price, because that's the trading rules of the WTO. And the VW paperwork is very clear that they will not be covering that cost themselves. Anyway, I'm on a tight schedule here, as heading off now to get some extra 12-volt sockets fitted. That was supposed to happen before I collected, but because of some new WLTP regulations, apparently, the dealer couldn't sort that out either. So he's given me the parts, and then I'm heading straight over to the dealer's fitter. They're called Van Dock. Apparently they're not very far from here, so I'll catch you over there. Okay, here we are at Van Dock. I'm upstairs in the sitting area eating a packed lunch I brought with me, as I had no idea where I'd be. And the guys and girls of Van Dock are buzzing around the van, working furiously to get me away as soon as possible. So I've got to get back to the kids for when they finish school. Anyway, I have to say I'm pretty impressed so far. No nonsense, no messing around, just drive in and get on with it. Anyway, we're home now, and right down at the bottom here is the extra socket that Van Dock fitted me. It's a mirror image of the factory fit one on that side. I've got the fridge plug into at the moment. Slightly annoying thing is, though, here in the front, and just squeeze myself through. So here in the front there's a glove box, and there's a 12-volt point here, but because I've just gone for the wider screen without the navigation, there's only one USB slot over here, and that's there because I've specified the app connect, so I can just plug my phone in and then use the navigation on the phone. So over here there was an option at order that I could have had a second USB put there. That would have been a £90 option, I think. But, you know, we were discussing it at the time, and the sales guy said, oh, just get Van Dock, just fit another one. So he very helpfully gave me this part. Then I headed across to Van Dock, and of course, it's not a simple matter of positive and negative. Turns out in the back here, behind the dash, there's a huge spaghetti of extra wiring loom that's required to stick an extra USB point there. And so, bless them, Van Dock took the blanking plate off and had a good look round, see if they could actually get that connected up. Couldn't. Took the effort of phoning the head technical guy at the dealership, and he instantly said, well, no, that's not possible. You know, why didn't they specify it at order? So that was really annoying, because I was hoping to keep this 12-volt point here free in case I wanted to put one of those tiny little CFX fridges between the 2 front seats here. And so I was hoping I'd be able to have a USB in there to run the dash cam off, which is there. So that's really annoying. You know, the only other USB point I said is in here. That runs the app connect, and in fact if I plug the dash cam in there, then the app connect knows it's a dash cam, but the dash cam doesn't have the software installed to actually talk to the car, so you can't even charge off of it, so that's entirely pointless. So at the moment I've just lost the 12-volt point there because I'm having to use the USB adapter to run that. So moral of that story is always go and talk to the techie folks. Of course there are some ways around it, but still annoying that I've paid extra for things I don't want, But in the end, I haven't actually got what I do want, so I think a bit more careful thought around options. And if there weren't so many options, then people wouldn't get themselves in a pickle. Or if there was decent information about what on earth each sentence meant, then people would understand better and get exactly what they wanted. So, VW commercial, can we please have more sensible explanations of things? Anyway, I'm really happy with the quality of the workmanship by Vandock. The cable was neatly routed all through the skeleton of the van, fused at the front here under the bonnet. The bus handles really nicely on the motorway and keeps up with the traffic flow, so that's good. But I'll have to report back once I've had much more experiences with corners and fully loaded and kit and caravans on the back and people and so on. It did seem to really drink the fuel, and it certainly wasn't supplied with very much in the tank at all. But it is a brand new engine, so again I'll have to come back to you about that. So sorry this episode hasn't been a super jolly bit of life is perfect Instagram moment sort of video, but I guess that's quite a lot of what this channel is about. Keeping it real and being open and honest. And fulfilling our dreams and getting out there isn't always as smooth and as perfect as I would have hoped. So hopefully by sharing our experiences it will help some of you guys. So a little PS from me. I discovered yesterday on the way back that the 2 rear plates that had been promised were missing from the van, but to be fair the salesman said he'd send them over and can get them to me before we're planning to take the van out next week. And there was also a little problem when we did the handover. We're missing one of the trim clips from the storage compartment in the back that holds the first aid kit and the tow bar and so on. So it's a compartment that we use fairly often. Anyway, that's going to be sent over as well, fingers crossed. But then something rather cheeky happened this morning. So 24 hours ago, well, less than 24 hours ago now, it's now Friday morning, I got an invoice this morning for £24 for these plates that hadn't been discussed at any point in the past. And I thought that was pretty cheeky after expecting me to stump up an extra 635 quid just out of the blue yesterday. So anyway, that's just taking the, well, let's call it being a bit cheeky. So I'm going to ignore that invoice and we'll see what happens. If the plates don't turn up, then fine, I'll just get them from somewhere else because I'm just absolutely fed up now. Anyway, signing off. Thanks for watching. Okay, so that's how it all went down. I can't believe, looking back, how positive I was sounding on the day itself, because inside I certainly didn't feel very positive about the whole thing. So since then I've been sorting out the extended warranty and service plans and that sort of thing. And through the process of sorting all that lot out, it became apparent that apparently there had been a mistake on our original order, and these doors, which as you saw are electric, somehow went on the order as manual. And then when the sales chap went in to update that, to set them back to the standard electric doors, which they're supposed to be as part of the standard package, then between the order and that point the price had gone up, which explains most of this 635 quid. And the downside was, because our name came off the order and then went back onto the order again, nobody had picked this up, nobody had noticed. I guess what really annoyed me was, of course, nobody had picked it up, and it wasn't until I noticed and happened to mention something. And then apparently nothing could be done by the dealership or by VWHQ or who knows. So that was really, really quite annoying as a customer. Anyway, so I'm still really annoyed about it, of course, 10, 12 weeks later, wherever we are. But, you know, we were really between a rock and a hard place, and I think had it been a normal sort of order, not the end of the T6 line just waiting for the 6.1s to come in, then we probably would have said, well, you know, blow it. Don't be ridiculous, and we would have changed dealership and so on. But it wasn't possible to order exactly what we wanted now, and I think, as I mentioned in the video itself, the 6.1s don't have some of the options we wanted. So it was take it or leave it. Lump it, really. Anyway, then to further compound things, as I said earlier, I think the plates turned up, the rear plates turned up that I'd asked for, and then got really snotty when a bill came through for an extra 24 quid. So it turns out that the poor salesman paid for it himself out of his own pocket. Now, okay, I'm sure he's hopefully getting a decent commission on the sale of the vehicle itself, but still, I didn't think that was on, so I've sent him a little present to say thanks. And, you know, that's quite ridiculous coming from a dealership that, anyway, I just quickly looked them up on Companies House, and they made, it's a private limited company, and they made something like £13.5 million worth of profit last year, before tax. And apparently most of that coming from the VW element of the dealership, as well as their Mercedes brands. Anyway, what's even more hilarious, because you've got to laugh, otherwise you'll cry, or perhaps it's absolutely taking the, well, I won't say on camera. At the end of November, I got this. It's not very begging, not very bribey begging bribe letter, asking me to rate the dealership as 5-star when VWHQ send me an email questionnaire. Well, guys, don't send me a bill that's 635 quid more than I'm expecting and not even realise you've done so, and then expect your own salesman to have to cough up for my plates, and think that a cup of coffee and a Kit Kat might persuade me. Before that, I probably have rated the experience as, I don't know, 10 stars out of 5. It was excellent. Yeah, I know how ridiculous that sounds. But now, not a chance. Anyway, on that note, before I blow a blood vessel, it's time for me to sign off and say bye for now, and thanks for watching. See you in the next one.